Welcome back, everybody. Today you have Emily and Jeremy, and we are doing our top 20 through 11.
This is dead serious. This is it.
This is
These
are our top.
This is it before
games.
this is it. Okay?
This is the almost it.
Mm-hmm.
It.
Yeah, there was so much emotion for me that I actually moved something.
Ooh, yeah, I can confirm.
I was like
right
last second, I was like, I can't stand on that. All right, I won't tell you what game it is. I'm just gonna put it on my list, but I was like, it was pretty dead serious because these are the games that you really love, and when you start to go like we were doing the Pub People thing, and it's like that's not out my top 20. That's in my top 20.
Yeah,
like you know, it's like something you
so
guard.
much emotion behind them.
So then you kind of go back and you go, it's not in my top 25. Why is it not in my top 25? You know, like so you're kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I love this part, but it was like. These are the 20 games that I stand on, so we got these before the top 10. These are the ones that I stand on.
So let's get it rolling. So top 20, my number 20 is Great Western Trail.
Great Western Trail.
A great game.
Yes, it is. Great game.
So we're set in the Old West. We are getting cattle, and we are going to be bringing them back, shipping them back to the east. And while we do this, we're going to be moving around a board where you can take a number of steps for your turn, but it's one of those things where it's player controlled, where I don't have to move the full movement.
Yeah, I love that.
I can move less and keep going inch by inch doing all these different things. But if Jeremy here is like, I'm going to race us to the finish, he might just be like, boom, 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 we're ending this game soon. You better get your stuff in order, Emily. Get that cattle to market. And I love that. I love that tension in there of how much can I get done in a player-controlled amount of time.
Yeah, I like that. I just overall, the reason why I love that design is that I love that they went back to it because I kind of didn't have the appreciation for the design as much as everyone else did. And then when I got to play it again last year with the new edition, they added a solo mode to it, which made me a lot more interested in it. And we do have a review of this on our channel.
Yeah, we do.
Where I reviewed it with Ryan, and we really reviewed it very well. But yeah, with that, the solo design, it definitely stays in my mind. Just not in my top 50, but definitely
second edition? They had a cowboy hat.
Yeah, they do. You know what? It's now in my top 50 because I forgot about the cowboy hats. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah.
What's your top 20?
Definitely. My 20, The Beast. That is Feast for Odin.
Oh.
Yes, The Beast. That is.
I still haven't played this one yet.
Oh, Lord. Now, I'm talking, you'll see, like in the older list, I'm talking trash about what I haven't played, which is a lot. But like, that is The Beast. That is the Feast.
I really think I'm going to like it. I've heard only good things.
I actually think it would, just based on your, like, it would shock your top 20. Like, it really would. It's that much of a thing. But like, if you don't know Feast for Odin, basically you got this crazy long board of choices, and you're trying to go about and kind of cover spots and cover different islands to save yourself from losing a ton of points.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard a lot about the losing points.
Yeah, like losing a ton of points. But I just, without going too deep into that one, I have fond memories of that game. I actually haven't played it in a long time, but like it just stands of only great memories of a game. And I played it when that was another one of those big games when I was coming into the hobby, and I just played it for like 2 months straight. I would just play that game.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's interesting how that changes too, by the way. I wouldn't say there are certain campaign games that I played for a long time, but that game I played for 2 months straight. Like I just played it. That was my game. You know.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it can't move from my top 20. It just can't. Like it just can't. It's one of my most played games ever.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Number 19. My number 19 is Maracaibo.
Ooh.
So I feel like it's weird that it ended up right next to Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, they're very similar too.
Yeah.
Where you have the board that you're moving around, and again, you can choose how far you're going to go. You can rush the ending by moving further, faster. You're going across the islands. You're doing exploration. You're doing a little bit of kind of area of influence, control. But there's also the cards that you have on top of it in Maracaibo, which I think is what brought it up just one more, because I really liked getting these cards. You're trying to pay for them to get them in your tableau. You're doing a little bit of engine building by getting the different icons that give you more production value.
Yes.
That was really slick for me. I really like the tightness of how you're trying to do all these things that interconnect and, again, build that engine.
You don't have enough time because people will try to move it forward. People will be nastily. I don't know if nastily is a word, but nastily.
In 3 turns, this is going to be great.
Right.
They're like,
people
here's the end.
And they're like, but they don't get the time. But then you want those points at the end of the round, and you have these cards that you want to get in play because you want the icons to match up, so you can get the scoring bonuses. Oh, what!
I take it you like this one too, Jeremy?
What a great game! Oh, what a great game! Stay tuned. So my next one is, it's still one of the. This is another game that I played. Not straight for months, but it was one of those games that I played a ton.
Okay.
And the designer has constantly innovated on that design and just made bigger and better games. That is Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
Oh.
Ah, man, what a game. I mean, what a game. Like kind of thematically, you are basically trying to, I don't know, like your corporation's trying to clean the world up. They don't care. Okay. And you're basically going to different worker placement spots, trying to build this engine that you have. And the thing is if you want to go to the same spot as someone else, you have to put a worker on top of the worker. Yeah, but there's this whole vibe of Luke Laurie games where you're putting the workers all on, and then when you take them off, you're putting them on things to get your abilities and trigger off this engine. And that was my first exposure to engine builders. And holy cannoli.
It's so satisfying. You build up something and it's doing so much at once.
His games are so satisfying. And then with the expansion that you guys are just playing, I had one of the prototypes for like 2 years. So like I was yelling from the rooftops about this. I'm so glad that people get this expansion. Folks, if you like this design or you remember it just fondly enough, make sure you buy this expansion for this. It is absolutely amazing. It takes that design to a whole nother level. And I hope people get into this game. Because if they like Dwellings of Eldervale, which was his most popular game recently, you will love this design. You will see the heart or the beginnings of that design in Manhattan Project Energy Empire, which is from like 2012. It's just not dated. It's great. It's absolutely a great design.
I'll put it on my list.
Well, I'm fired up now because I love that game. And there are games better than that game on my list. That's the craziest thing, right? Yeah.
So let's keep going. Number 18. For me, number 18 is Concordia. And specifically, I want to say Concordia Venus.
Okay.
Because for me, so I've played Concordia, and I also played with some of the expansions. Concordia Venus is when you're playing kind of cooperatively, but still competitively. So if we're playing, Jeremy and I might be on a team, we might be against Ryan and David.
Yes.
I played it at 6, so there were really 3 teams.
Oh, okay, whoa.
It was a really fun experience though. Like, I'm not usually into co-op games because you can do a lot of quarterbacking and a lot of, but in Concordia Venus, what you're doing is you're doing the same things in Concordia where you're playing cards from your hand and you have a select number of actions you're taking. And throughout the game, you can buy more of those cards to put in your hands to take heavier, better actions. And they also, at the bottom, have scoring. So you want to buy more cards. But when you're doing in Concordia Venus, you're also determining not just what you're going to do, but what your partner's going to do.
Yes.
So you're thinking a lot about, like, how can I best help my partner and where they're situated right now at the board? But what do I need to do for myself, or what might they do on their turn next? And there's a lot of that thinking that I love when a game can do what are they going to do? What am I thinking? But instead of doing it competitively, I was doing it cooperatively, where I was like, how can we do this together and still make sure we're heads and shoulders above the rest of everybody at the table who's playing? So I thought it just elevated Concordia for me, and I already really liked that game. So
interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to give Concordia another chance.
Oh, really? You didn't like? I loved it.
It's not that I didn't like it. It just was I wasn't moved by it. Like I've been playing the app version of it a little bit.
Gotcha.
And I did have Venus and I let it go. But I think I'm going to give that version a try because it does have a Solitaire mode too. And I don't know what it was. I made a swift decision on it. It'll be one of those games that I probably own like 3 or 4 times. I have this thing. We're not going to address my issue with that, how I own games and get rid of them and then own them again. And, whatever. You feel me if you're one of those types of people. But yeah, Concordia is definitely a well-regarded game. And it's one of those games where I think when I came into the hobby, there were games that I played that were kind of innovations on those designs.
I see.
So like a game like Aquatica is something that I love that has some of the Concordia stuff in it, So it's kind of like that. I figure that's why I probably would like the design, and I kind of played it through the app, so I'm okay with it.
Gotcha.
Love to play the board game version. So my next one is definitely a very popular game, and now we're going to get into my love of deck building. Because now you're going to see the core of who I am. Like, what types of games is this guy?
I also like deck building.
I love deck building. So here we go. The first one is Dune. Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium
Dune?
Dune is a great game. We hear about it ad nauseum, I think, to this point, but
because it's so good.
Right. What I love about the design most is how cutthroat it can be. You know, how aggressive it can be, and how it can be deceptive. You know, a little bit. Even with the expansion, it's like, what do they really have? What are all those intrigue cards? You know?
Even more with the expansion.
Now I know it's like intrigue cards, mission stuff on the side. Like, what are they doing over there?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you still have to worry about how tight the game is.
Yeah.
With the points, it's like at first you're like, why is there 10 points to the end of the victory? Like, there's a lot that goes on here.
And especially when you get past 7, you're like,
when it goes to 7, it's like, what is everybody doing? Like, oh my God, he has a 2-pointer now. Why does he have a 2-pointer now? Like, you know, or somebody moves up 3 and they come from behind, and you're like, oh my gosh,
biggest swing.
So I just never expected that from this design. Zero attachment to the theme. I didn't read any of the Dune books going up. I didn't care at all. Like, gameplay over everything. Perfect example. Don't even care about the graphic design. Everything I threw all that out the window. Gameplay or everything. One of the best games I've ever played.
Wow. Well, I don't disagree with you there, but it's not in my 20 through 11. I will say that.
That's unfortunate.
So we'll see.
There just aren't 20 games better than that.
My number 17 is going to be a party game. Ooh. It's an older game, a classic game.
Okay, let's whip off the dust.
I was surprised by how high it ended up ranking when I did the Pub Meeple, and that is Taboo.
Taboo, yeah. No, that's a fun game. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah.
The thing is, like, I would put it up against these heavy Euros, and I was like, well, I love heavy Euros. Yeah. But the thing is, you think about Taboo, and it has this buzzer. So if you haven't played Taboo before, you have a card, and it has a word you're trying to get them to guess. Say it's birthday. There's like 4 or 5 other words underneath it that are taboo. You can't say those. You can't say present. You can't say sing. You can't say happy. And if you do say one of those words, someone from the other team is looking over your shoulder. They've got this buzzer. They're like,
it's obnoxiously fun. It's fun.
Obnoxiously fun. You feel like you're like on Maury, where it's like beep beep beep.
I know. And then people are like,
but it's so much fun. You can't play that game without having like an uproariously fun time.
Right. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna have that's simplicity, right?
I know.
It doesn't have to be big, crunchy. It's just fun.
It's just so fun. Like, I've never played Taboo and not had just a great time with anyone I play with, complete strangers.
I hope as you're watching these lists that people really get the idea of, like, this is just not hard. Fun, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complex. No. So you see these lists as we get to the ones you really love. Even us, we're probably surprised, but man, I mean, that's fun. That's what, our fun. Next up, another light game, Maracaibo.
I like Maracaibo. Actually, it made my list.
Yeah, little thinky filler. So this beast of a game, we've said a lot about it. I think Maracaibo, what it is for me, is the choices, a lot of the choices that you get to make. And also with the expansion, there's just so many little modules that make that game fun. And the campaign is interesting only because you're adding new cards and adding to the decisions that you need to make during the game. Mm-hmm. Don't care about a little bit the story they're trying to make to put together. I play the app quite a bit. When I'm on vacation, like, I just play Maracaibo until I get where I'm going. So it's definitely one of those games that does stick with me. It's just great.
So you're number 17, my number 19, Maracaibo.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
Number 16, though, for me was La Granja. So I know David had this as one of his too, somewhere in his top 50, which I wasn't surprised about because I really liked it. But again, it's a game where you have these multi-use cards, and that's really the selling point, is that these multi-use cards, you have 4 different ways you can use each card.
It's ridiculous.
It's great. Like, the theme isn't anything special. We're building out our towns and stuff and cattle ranching and production. But again, multi-use cards. And then in the middle of it, you also have this dice drafting. And so I love dice drafting. Yes. I love multi-use cards. Yes. I love how it's putting everything together kind of seamlessly, where it doesn't feel like, 5 different mechanics just chunked together. It feels like one solid experience, to the point when I explain the game, I forget, like, oh yeah, and then it has this. Oh yeah, and then it has this. And at the end, you're like, how did I do all of this? Somehow I have this great engine, all these really cool people that do real, like, rule-bending things over such a short period of time. And I just love that. There's a lot of thinking that can go into it. Bit prone to AP, just because of, again, that multi-use means if you have 4 different ways you can use every card, and you have, like, multiple cards in your hand, you're thinking, like, but I love it.
Give it to
me. I love it.
I feel like that's one of those games that's so my game.
I think you're gonna really like it.
Played it. Like that.
Yeah,
that's one
I really
of those
think
ones.
You're gonna like
I think out of all these games, I think like that's the one I should be playing, right? Like,
yes.
That's the one. I think out of this whole top 50 for everybody, I think like that's the one I should play. So next one up is Dice Throne.
Oh, Dice Throne.
Dice Throne. Oh my goodness. I love that game. I love that game. I love the art. I love the card play in that game. I love each character. I love the fact that they presented something where you have these different characters, and I felt them, and they may seem generic to people, but they're generic because they aren't the heavy IP stuff that we're used to seeing all the time.
But then they also went into the IP stuff
they
too,
eventually got there, but it's like they went into their own world and created this world, and all of these characters are in this world, and they're all crazy different, and they have some trope, but they also have their own twist on those tropes, and there's something about that game where I think people will just recognize it as like a chuck it and whatever, this kind of King of Tokyo thing. But like, there's a lot of strategy in the card play of that game and and the timing of when you're going to be using the stuff. And I just don't think people respect that design enough.
Yeah. I do think of it as a dice chucker.
Yeah, it's just a dice chucker, and I'm like, no, there's just so much more to these characters, and I love playing it. I love that there's a competitive scene for it.
Sure.
And to me, that's just proof that there's way more to it than just hey, let's sit here and chuck dice, and then we're kind of fighting. And everybody's just gonna lose. You're gonna lose. You're gonna hit me a little bit more than you hit me. I was like, no, there's actually like cards in the game that you need to like use and timing and all kinds of stuff, just a lot of dice manipulation. That's stuff that is in other games that people love, but they just don't see it
in Dice Throne.
Like they see it in Dice Throne. And I do. One of the best games I've ever played.
Dice
Keep it coming.
There you go.
Keep it coming. Yeah.
Well, one even better than that is my number 15, which is Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done.
What? Whoa!
Yeah.
Low-key, great design.
I know.
Yes,
it is so low-key because when I first played this game, when they told me, like, let's play the Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done, and they were like, it has some area control, I was like, first of all, Crusaders, not my thing.
Not my thing.
Thy Will Be Done, already done.
No.
And then area control, I was like, I don't know why I'm playing this game, but we played it, and it's not what you think it's going to be.
No, it's
not.
It has
this great design, and it's really just a Euro with a terrible theme, but they at least lean into it. And what it is you have this little rondel board. You have these 6 hexes, and you have little hexagon pieces that are going to go on each.
Yep.
And the way you take your movement is you're going to look at how many hexes you have on your little piece. So let's say I have 3 of them. I'm going to take that action with a strength of 3.
Yep.
And then I'm going to do like a mandala thing where I'm going to put each of those hexes on the next little spaces around the rondel board. So you're making that next action just a little bit more powerful.
Yeah.
So much thinking goes into when am I going to take my action so it's the most valuable, but how am I also going to set up my next action so that I'm putting them out in the right way? You have some asynchronous player powers that you can start with too, where one of them is like you go backwards too instead of just going clockwise around it. The pieces of this puzzle, how they come together is just so comforting. I just love how it all comes together into one thing that even though they had so much going against it when I first played it, I was like,
I know.
I'm buying this. I bought it immediately. I was like at a game shop and I was like, I'm taking this home with me right now.
All right, first of all, RIP to TMG. But they, that was a really great low-key design for me. And they have an expansion. The game is coming out again officially through Renegade. And they have the expansion for it, which was, I guess, supposed to come out. And now it is out. And I just, it's coming out, I should say. And you're right. Everything is going against it.
I know. You're like, I'm going to like this game.
I ended up getting it again as well. I guess I'm not.
A repeat offender.
As I tell people, usually they're not consistent. They're selectively consistent. And that one, I was just like, I'm just going to have it. Like, I let Paladins go of the West Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
And then I decided to keep this one. I don't know. I let go of Santa Maria. I kept this one. So it's like, I don't know. Like, whatever. I hate to say it, but I'm not always consistent on that stuff. And that one, that is a really great choice.
I love that one.
That's a really great choice. Mine is
Number
very
15.
Very thematic. Speaking of thematic, mine is Pursuit of Happiness. Pursuit of Happiness. It is such a wonderful game. I used to demo that game for a company called Envoy. Shout out to everybody on the team. But Yeah, a worker placement game where you're dealing with your life and you're going through your life over 9 stages. You start as an adolescent, there's certain actions you can take, but generally you're taking these resources and you're getting cards and you're investing in life events that you can have. So you can be part of a gamer crew, you could take up yoga early, you could do like join a rock band and you put those over there, and then you have action cards. So maybe you want to divert your time a little bit and go party, buy a new car, have a specific system. And then you have relationships. So you can have a girlfriend and you can invest more time in her and she'll give you certain things. And you can get a job and chase a career. And all those things, as you start to get older, take more of your time. So now you have these less action markers to work with.
Interesting.
And it whittles down because as you get older, and your happiness goes up and down, which affects how many of the pieces things you have.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, it goes down faster, and you actually can die in the game.
Really?
You can die young. Like you could die young because of your time and your stress, and you can't keep up with your lifestyle.
Oh my God.
Or it is such an awesome game. Now that game used to be in my top 10. Like it used to be in my top 10.
And it got kicked out.
It got kicked out. It's, people grow, people change, okay? People grow, people change. But yeah,
I've heard this game described as like the game of life, but for hobbyist gamers.
Yeah, because it is very much a medium weight Euro game. Like it's not a light game at all. It's not a light game. It can go long. But what I do when I play the game, because they have so many different expansions, like they have life experiences, community, all this stuff. And you know what I usually do with this game? I tell my life story after I'm done.
Oh, really?
So I tell like my character's life story. Because you even have like backgrounds. It'll be like
cool.
Rich kid, from humble beginnings, bookworm, So I tell my little life story about my relationship. Sometimes I have two girlfriends, just a stressful life. How dare you? Shout out to Mrs. Howard. But you can do that, and it'll stress you out. But you get benefits from it as well. So it's just a really fun game. Well, a really, really, really fun game.
I love that. Yeah. I'll have to play that one.
Yeah, we do. We have to play that one.
Speaking of heavier games, my number 14 is Boon Lake.
Ooh.
So this is definitely a newer one for sure.
You call to the news.
A little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm going in there.
I've played this one quite a few times at this point, so I feel comfortable saying that it's this high on my list. And the theme, not much to say about it. You're exploring Boon Lake. You're doing farming. You're doing exploration. The typical.
Ooh.
The best part of it, though, is the action selection. So you have these different actions that you're selecting from, and it's advantageous for you to take the one that you haven't taken in a while.
Yeah.
Because every time you take one, it's going to go down to the bottom. It's going to become more expensive to take. You're going to get less movement across the shipping track, which is really what determines the end of the game. So again, using the same mechanic as Maracaibo, as Great Western Trail, where it's player controlled how quick you're going to get to the end. You can keep moving up it really fast, or you can inch along and get these games where you're scoring like in the 300s. But the actions, each of the actions have 3 parts, where the first part is you can play a card of that daytime phase, or you can discard a card of that phase to get a couple coins.
Yeah.
So you get some card play, building a tableau. The second part is the main action. So you're going to get to do something pretty juicy that no one else gets to do. But then everyone gets to follow with some other part of the action. So you're always doing something.
Yeah, you're always
People are always, activated in the game. And beyond that, because I might have just chosen this action, Jeremy was like, I'm going to choose that right after her. Well, now it's more expensive to take.
Yeah.
You also just took the follow yourself. So like, do I really want to take that action anymore?
Ooh.
It's really one of those things where it's situational. So you want to keep looking around the board and seeing who's going to do what's going to happen in between turns. You're not getting bored because you're not like taking your turn and then being like, all right, I'll be back in 20 minutes when it's my next one. But you have to be thinking about what's happening, because I might have been planning, I'm going to do A, then B, then C. But Jeremy did B. And do I really still want to do B, or do I want to do C? Do I want to mix in D? Like, I love that part of it. And the action selection alone for me is what really makes me want to keep getting it back onto the table.
Yeah, I got nothing for you, but that sounds very interesting. That's like one of those games that I had. I just never gave it a chance. Like, it was just sitting there, and I was like, somebody wanted it more. Somebody wanted it more than me. I cared about it, so then I made sure they got it. And I will have to play it again. David likes that game quite a bit too. So it's where it lands on his list, I'm sure it will probably pop up because of that.
Yeah.
My next one up is, once again, we're going back to the deck building well. And that
Let's
one
do
is
it.
Lost Ruins of Arnak. Holy moly, I love that game. Now, you are on Board Game Arena. You want to play it anytime, I will, because sometimes I'm at work and I'm not paying attention to work. I am playing Lost Ruins of Arnak. So, really, it's actually like that perfect, it's a perfect medium weight game to me. Like, it's in that perfect area.
Yeah,
weight-wise. Like weight-wise.
Yeah, like
it's just a good medium weight game. People will say it goes towards light. That's fine because you can play that kind of strategy line.
Yeah, that's true.
Fine. But then but with the expansion, you're going to have these abilities, different abilities that kind of give you a different theme to your gameplay, which
I
is
still
really
haven't
good.
played the expansion yet.
So that's where the game goes to another level, and that's probably the reason why it rose to my top 20 is because of that expansion. The same thing with Dune, but this one, this design I connect with more, even though it takes longer to set up and all those things. But it's like it has a sense of theme for me. Because you're going to this world, you're kind of going in and you're invading people's culture. I'm not going to get into that, but it's a fake world, whatever. I guess you can say it's a fake world. But then you also have you're going to this area. And there's mythical beasts that you must fight off.
But like the sense of adventure is something
there's a sense of adventure.
Okay, that seems cool.
Yeah, and it's like the characters that they give you definitely lean a little bit more into it. But then again, there's still this deck builder thing where when you're getting these cards, trying to trigger off your abilities, you have a lot of interesting choices on your turn. But then also, you can also set up how the cards are. You basically sort of are setting up the way your deck is going to be built. And I just find that one very rewarding. It's a really good game. Easy on the eyes, too.
That's true. That's true. My number 13 is one I said I don't really like co-ops very much, so this is going to be surprising that I got this high.
Throwing a lie.
But is The Crew.
Oh, The Crew, definitely.
The Search for Planet Nine. Specifically that one because I have not played the second one yet, the underwater one. But I love The Crew. I love deduction games, and so this is very much a deduction game. You guys, as a table, are trying to together get further into mission and trying to see what you can do in outer space for the first one. But what you're doing is it's a trick-taking game. So you get these little tasks, and say I get like the pink 2. That means I have to take the trick that has the pink 2. I don't have to use the pink 2, and I probably won't if it's a 2 because that's pretty low. But I might use like a pink 9. So like if Jeremy put out the pink 2 during a round, I would say, okay, I need to win this trick. I'll put out something like the pink 9, hopefully win it, and then this task will be completed. But you have multiple tasks and multiple things going on, and it plays with the rules so much.
And that's, I guess the thing is that it becomes, it's like almost not a trick taker sometimes, because it's just like, we just want to make sure somebody has this in there.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly,
so it's like your feeling of winning a trick.
You don't always want to win
You're like, no, you don't want to win it. You just want to make sure colors are in a certain spot.
And I've gotten down to the end of the wire where it's like the last card, and someone's like, okay, I know Jeremy's going to win it. He needs to win it. But then somebody else forgot to use their rocket, which is the trump card. And then they win it accidentally.
You'll have so many missions where you're so close.
So close.
And everybody's trying to use their piece to give partial information. So you can give partial information only through cards. You can't talk. Otherwise, it ruins everything that game is. And that's what's really unique about it. If you have to describe what a trick taker is, I will tell you right now. I just tried to do this at a con. Don't try to explain what a trick taker is and play this game at the same time. It doesn't work. You got people.
But the thing is that I love about it is so quick.
But it is so quick.
One of the things the rule book says is that if you think a hand is impossible to win, play it out anyway. Because they're so quick, you may as well, and you may have forgotten about something. Or not realized.
It has a quick losing condition, and the thing is that you can play it again.
Especially when you do lose, you just want to play it again.
Yes, you do want to play it again. You're like, we had it.
All right, we had it. Let's do it one more time. Set it up.
We almost got it. Yeah, that game's awesome. I just played it again at a con, just again, and I was just like, yeah, this one is magic. It's magic. Next one up is exactly what I was talking about before with Luke Laurie, and this is his most recent innovation in this design. He's got another one coming. This one is Dwellings of Eldervale, which was my game of the year 2 years ago. I think that was 2 years ago. It is a fantastic design. So basically, you're trying to build, you have all these factions. I think there's like 16 factions, by the way, that all have their own unique ways of building. You have different types of workers that have different abilities, and you're zipping around trying to build these dwellings. You've got cards that are different elemental cards that give you different things. it's just a very pleasing game. And then they also have these beasts that you fight off when the beasts have certain things. And by the way, just to show you how ridiculous this game is, not only are there beasts in this game, they have sounds. So when you place them down, they make animal roars.
Oh my gosh.
But you have to have like the best version. That is absolutely ridiculous, and you have to have the mind of a 5-year-old to enjoy that. But it's like, why am I playing this heavy Euro? And it's like, like when you place the things that, I mean, it's so ridiculous. But I love.
But it's fun.
But it's still fun, and you still have this worker placement thing where you're placing things on, and then you're taking them off and putting them on certain cards and different things like that. There's just so many different elements, and it's one of my favorite solo games. As a matter of fact, I believe I just went number one game, number one solo game. Like, you can watch that top 10. I explain it in a little bit more depth, but that game, yeah, it's still impressive.
The game worked out.
Very impressive to this day. And it's just a good sign of where Luke Laurie is one of my favorite designers, and he has Andromeda's Edge coming up, which we probably will have coverage on. Just a great designer.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Talk about games with a lot of fun. My number 12 is what I think of fun. I think of this game.
Yes.
Pictionary.
Pictionary. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yes.
I come up with all the classics.
Yes.
So Pictionary, I mean, I'm sure you guys all know how to play.
Yeah,
Like, you just draw a picture, your team's trying to guess what you're drawing.
Yeah.
Classic. It's so much fun.
People interaction just to see how people do that and just watching people draw. There's so many games that do some of that now.
Yeah.
And they do reward people who are not great at drawing.
Sure.
But I honestly, you never had to be great at drawing.
No, you didn't.
That's what something people are so uncomfortable with, but I think it's the pressure.
Yeah.
Like that always will be that pressure. And I love that games, I will never crap on Pictionary, but I love that the games now kind of have found ways around that. Like, hey, your drawings are not supposed to be the most amazing.
Right.
I love just the silliness that comes out of that.
I love the simplicity of it, too. Like, you can just pull it out, and there's no teach. You know how to play already.
Exactly.
And you just keep going, and my favorite part is the all plays. All play is when everyone around the table is either drawing or guessing, and you just have like a raucous time. And I love Pictionary. It's been in my collection. It will stay in my collection. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I so approve of this.
I think it's the oldest game on my list.
That game is so fun. I know. We had David here. I tell you, huh? We can do his games in black and white. I mean, jeez. All right. Anyway. All right, definitely go back and watch some of these. Like David. No, I'm just making fun of him. So another light game for me. Wow. Big one. On Mars.
Okay. Light.
Of course.
I was like,
what? I think it may be the heaviest game on my list.
Really?
I think it might be the heaviest game. On Mars is not a light experience at all. For the people who say that to them, don't trust their game. It's not easy. It's like a beast to kind of learn up front.
Yes.
So basically what you're doing on this board is you are, I guess, different corporations, and you have this thing where you're going on the planet and off the planet, but you're basically trying to place these stations and things like that across the board. I could go on this one in depth, but there's just so much to talk about with this game. I like the theme. I love the expansion of how it plays with the theme. Like, they have aliens coming to attack your spot. They have, you're trying to build antidotes to the infections that are going on. They have so many ways. They've had enough ways that they play with the design where it won't get stale. But I still find that I still find that the game design is still so good, and it is worth your time. That you get a full experience. You have really good weight to your choices, and there's a timing element to it. And this is just what a great game. That's a very good game.
On Mars was on my list too. Yeah. It was a couple ones of them ago, but it made my list as well. And I think it's really tight.
Yep.
It has really great. It's elegant, right? Where you're doing like simple actions, but there's so much that's going on with them.
Yeah.
And especially on Mars has the you're on planet, you're off planet, and you have to move across for which actions you want to take.
I mean, that choice alone.
I know. It's
like,
a lot of thinking.
Do I go up now or do I wait? Do I really have anything to do? Like that kind of thing. Yeah, that's a really good design. Yeah, it has a good ramp up to it. Anyway, that's my on the list. Yeah, I could go on about that.
I know. I'll stop you. So my number 11, is to round out this video, is going to be Clank in space, the deck building adventure.
Clank in space.
I know.
Wow. That's surprising. That is actually surprising.
We started on this video and I said I love deck builders. This one has the deck building adventure.
Wow. Okay.
You got to think of Clank when you think of deck builders.
Yeah.
So I like the In Space one better than the original. I haven't played the Legacy yet, and so I do want to because I think I would probably like it, even though Legacy games I tend to not lean towards as much. But I love deck builders.
You do.
I really like the kind of little bit of push your luck element that's in Clank, where you're like, you have to go out and you have to get something, and you have to return without, getting eaten by the dragon or this monster catching you, and make your escape. Otherwise, you lose.
Right.
Not like you get last, you lose. That is it. You did not. You're out of the game completely. Yep. And that kind of tension that it brings, where you're like, I gotta be risky because I want to get the most points, but I can't be too risky. Yeah. You feel it the entire game. The entire game you're thinking about it, and I love that feeling of tension throughout it, along with the deck building. Yeah. So for me, it's just a winning combination.
Clank is another one of those games. We had a couple of those, but I always think like Viticulture 2 is like, it's a very good game for people who are learning in a sense, or who have been primed with other games where it's like, hey, now I want to introduce you to the concept of deck building. Yeah. And it's like, that's one that, like I said, somebody else could get people into it, but then that's also someone that, like, you realize a lot of people have played this in the hobby. It's been there, and it's like, let's just knock out a game of Clank.
I know, it's so much easier to get to the table. And I think that also helps with it getting so high on the list, because I know I can get it to the table. Yeah, and like, I want a good experience, but I want to actually have the experience, not just something I theoretically played once because I can't get it to the table with anyone. Clank I do.
What if I told you that we can continue to build decks? Okay. What if I told you we continue to build decks?
All right, you have me.
What if I told you this is the best deck builder of all time? And that is a gift that keeps on giving. Aeon's End. All right, so Aeon's End.
I haven't played Aeon's End, so sell me.
Oh my gosh. All right, so you're this portal mage things, whatever, and you're trying to protect Gravehold, this town, like whatever, and it has life, but the bosses are what these enemies have come in. These bosses have come in. And they all have their own mechanics. And there's like 20 or 30 of them now. And it's amazing how they keep coming up with different ways of dealing with, like, to have to deal with and protect. Okay. And you are trying to build decks in a Dominion thing. This is coming right off of Dominion. You got 9 cards. I like Dominion. You're trying to build up your deck. But the thing is, as you do, you acquire certain cards, you are putting them in your deck, but then you're also taking the certain cards and you're putting them back the way you want them to.
Ooh.
You want to put them back. So then what you're doing is essentially now you're building and constructing a set, a pattern, and then you just flip it over. You don't shuffle it, you flip it over. So then now when you come back, you are slowly but surely syncing up your deck. Oh. So it's almost like we're like, doing our thing, and it's like, are you ready? I'm ready. Boom! And you have like this bastard, like I don't know. It's like, but you're like setting cards and preparing them. You're buying so you can move that. Honestly. So it's like, you kind of like shooting off little stuff in the beginning, and then you're opening more of your portals. You're opening more, you're buying open more of your portals. And some people won't because they're better support characters, and some people will. So you get these themes, and they also have a lot of characters to change it up. Okay. Legacy also does that. So Legacy allows you to build your mage from scratch, so you can kind of tell your own story with it. Story's okay, but overall, that world has paid off quite a bit, and there's nothing like that feeling, that deck preparing feeling of that game. And
I think I would really enjoy that.
It feels so good when it all syncs up for you, and you're just going,
you're just
pounding. Just boom, 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 boom. And the thing is that the bosses are just they present such interesting puzzles that it doesn't get old.
Is it a co-op game or is it?
Yeah, it's co-op.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It does not get old. If you want to see a newer version of that one, if you ever want to kind of see how it works, there's a newer series in this thing that they started. It's a little bit more streamlined. I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden, but yeah, it has a little bit more streamlined, and the planets help you fight.
Oh, that's nice.
So they give you like a little support and stuff like that. So you don't have to protect Gravehold anymore. But like that, wow. I mean, wow.
Well, I will also have to play that one.
Yeah, that one is like It was so hard to keep it out of my top 10, but the top 10 is tight.
I'm excited for our top 10, but that concludes our 20 through 11 for Jeremy and I. Again, take a look for David and Ryan's, and soon our top 10. If you thought we were excited about these ones, top 10 is going to be hot.
The Titans.
Hot.
The Titans, yeah.
But until we see you again, make sure everyone's having fun at the table, and we will see you soon.
Take care.